Last time on What If Naruto was neglected and left the village. Meanwhile at Mount Myaboku Fukasaku led Minato to a fountain filled with some kind of oil. The fountain was surrounded by numerous statues of toads, all of varying sizes. Alright Minato boy, this is where your training begins, the toad said. Alright Fukasaku-sama, what do I have to do first? The blonde Hokage asked. First I should explain what the difference between senjutsu and regular jutsu are. That's okay, Jiraiya-sensei explained it to me once, Minato said. Oh he did he? The frog, excuse me Toad, said skeptically, then do tell what the difference is. Regular ninjutsu uses the body's natural chakra, which is the fusion of physical and spiritual energy. Senjutsu uses a new stronger chakra through the fusion of our chakra with that of nature. That's right, the old Toad said, with senjutsu your jutsus and physical attacks with increase drastically in power. Like this, Fukasaku hopped over to a toad statue and lifted it up with one hand. Wah, Minato said, I know you did something there. Did you form a seal or something? Well, since you can't sense natural energy yet, you obviously cannot feel it. How do I do it? Minato asked. You have to die, Fukasaku said with a dead serious expression. What? Minato said back, confused. Did I just hear you wrong, Fukasaku-sama? Minato asked. Well, to be more specific, you need to become one with nature, the old Toad said. In order to take in natural energy, you have be able to feel the energy and to draw it into your body. Once you are able to become one with it, you'll be able to control where it enters and leaves your body. The best way to become one with nature is to simply not move. I find that not moving is the hardest thing for anyone, Minato said. That is true. It is the hardest thing for an animal to do. Fukasaku hopped up onto the edge of the to get you started, we'll use this, the secret frog oil. He turned back to Minato. Come Minato boy, give me your hand. Minato complied. The old Toad dipped a webbed finger into the fountain and rubbed a tiny amount of oil into Minato's skin. Immediately the yellow flash felt a new energy surging into his body. Wow, he said, bewildered. This frog oil has the power to draw natural energy to you. By rubbing it into your skin, it will allow natural energy to flow freely into your body. With this you will be able to grasp the feel for natural energy, however it is risky, he said. That's when Minato noticed the vision in his right eye became different. His entire right arm suddenly felt slimy and his right hand became webbed and sported several warts. What? Minato wondered in shock. If you don't know how to control, you will turn into a frog. The old Toad clapped his hands together, summoning a black staff. Wham, he slammed it against Minato's head. What did you do, Minato questioned as he turned to his reflection. I'm back to normal. My staff has the ability to knock the natural energy out of you, so you don't need to worry so long as I am here, the small sage said. The key to this stage is balance. Balance, huh? Minato said, complimenting something. Too little natural energy and you cannot create sage chakra. Too much and you will turn into a frog forever. He said seriously, all the statues you see around us are all that remains of those who failed this part. So many, Minato said in awe. Out of everyone who has attempted to learn senjutsu, only Jiraiya boy has been able to do it, even if it isn't perfect. Anything sensei can do, Minato slammed a fist into his palm, I can do as well. Meanwhile, in a city-like area with a constant downpour, 8 people were gathered together in a dark chamber. How goes the Jinchuriki hunt? One man asked. Despite being completely shadowed out, one could clearly see his rippled light purple eyes. Fairly well, a larger man said. Replied, we found the 5 tails. And where is it? It's located in Iwagakure. A man of average height replied, of all the fucking places. Kakuzu and Hidden shall retrieve it. Fine by me, the large man said. About fucking time. I was getting so fucking bored, the shorter man yelled. Very well, the leader replied. Any other reports on the tailed beasts? I've located the 6 tails. It's in Kirigakure, another tall man replied. His silhouette gave him the appearance like he had 3 large horns on his head. Even with the little light in the room, only the right half of his face was visible. Even then there was not much to look at since it was a completely black mask with no eye hole. One could also make out the shape of a katana on his back. Shall I go and retrieve it? Conan and I shall get it, the rippled-eyed man said. Now, has anyone found out anything about the 9 tails? Until last month the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails was the Hokage's daughter. But 1 month ago it broke free and vanished, according to eyewitnesses, the strangest-looking man said, having what appeared to be a large pair of jaws shooting above his head. In other words, we have no idea where it is, a female voice said. Despite being shadowed, one could clearly see her green eyes. On the contrary, the black-masked man said, if its previous hosts are still alive, which I assume they are since they are Uzumaki after all, I will most definitely be able to find the beast. Huh. All Masamune needs to do is taste their blood, he said, gripping his sword. When he does, the beast's residual chakra will lead me right to it. So all you need is their blood. Zetsu is the former Jinchuriki alive. Yes, both of the fox's former Jinchuriki are alive. In fact, they currently are no longer in the Leaf Village. I was following them, Zetsu spoke, as if he was two different people, but I lost them when they arrived at some weird clearing. I'll go after them. The black masked man said, I know exactly where they are going. You do, the leader replied skeptically. You do realize this is Uzumaki Kushina you'd be dealing with. I am more than capable of squashing a bug like her, he replied. Besides, I get to visit some old friends. And if they're good, I'll let them play with my newest pet. A piercing screech echoed through the tower and across the village. I cannot believe that such a creature exists in this world. A man with golden eyes said, might I dissect and study it? I wouldn't recommend it. Damn thing is very strong. Nearly tore my arms and head off just to get its chains on, the black masked man said. And about me going alone, whoosh, suddenly two figures appeared behind him. Each one wrapped in a black cloak, yet all their faces were shadowed. These two will be more than enough. Shimaru, have you heard anything from your former organization? The woman named Conan asked. What about them? Zetsu told us that there was a strange man in Konoha not too long ago. So, according to Zetsu, he was looking for someone who was a member of a certain organization, but now a part of Akatsuki. I doubt they sent anyone after me. They're just a bunch of food-obsessed dumbasses. I joined them because I thought they were powerful, but then I learned they only were after food and chefs, believing they could conquer the world with those things. Shimaru said nonchalantly. Besides, if any of them do come for me, my Shinakashi are more than enough to protect me. After all, they all were imprisoned alongside me in the deepest level of hell until 2 years ago. We'll leave the nine tails to you, Shimaru. Thank you, leader, Shimaru said before he and his two associates disappeared in a swirl of black feathers. Outside the chamber, the three black-robed figures were walking towards a large dark room. Through the darkness, a pair of eyes pierced through, staring into the three robed figures' souls. The eyes were expressing hate, rage and frustration that terrified the shortest of the three. The building shook violently for a brief moment. Damn thing killed 300 mercenaries and 2 of the newer Shinakashi without breaking a sweat. What kind of chains are you using, Shimaru-sama? Just a couple of souvenirs I picked up from our stay in hell. They're the only thing that bastard can't break. Craw. The entire room seemed to shake as the thing released a loud blood-curdling screech. I'm just surprised it hasn't torn down the entire building yet, the other man said. Shimaru-sama, a female asked, how do you plan to get that thing to obey you? She sounded worried. When I'm done with it, it will obey without question, Shimaru said. A single green eye pierced off the left eye hole of the mask, becoming red for an instant, then returning to normal. While the ninja world was going about its business, 2 men arrived in the Land of Wind. So this is the Land of Wind? The taller of the 2 men said. It's not much. He reached up and took a cigar out of his mouth, exhaling a decent-sized smoke cloud. But it makes me feel right at home. So boss, what do you plan on doing here anyway? Not much, we're just going to look around, size this place up, maybe pick up a recruit or 2, conquer, lay waste to it, or maybe just leave it alone, depends on my mood. Understood, boss. The other man replied. Butte up, a transponder snail rang. Butte up, click. The shorter of the 2 men answered it. After hearing what was said, he turned to his boss. Hey boss, I think we found a new recruit and he's quite the interesting fellow. Oh, really? The boss said. Well then, let's go. Hidden in the Land of Wind was a hidden ninja village called Tsunagakure. We now turn our attention to this small village. A small little redhead boy watched a group of children play with a ball. This small child wore standard desert attire, sandals, black pants, and a small cloak that was wrapped around his upper body. The boy has sea green eyes with black rings surrounding them and was holding a teddy bear. Dang it, one child complained as their ball got stuck in a crack, high on the wall of a building. Guess the game's over, another said. Wait, what's that? A girl pointed out as sand surrounded the ball. Very gently the ball was taken out and brought back to the ground, resting itself in the outstretched hands of the small redhead boy. Ah! The children screamed as they attempted to run away from him. Wait, the redhead pleaded as he outstretched an arm. Whoosh! Sand rushed past him and grabbed the leg of one of the children. Get it off me! Get it off me, the child repeated, visibly being overtaken by panic and fear. Suddenly a man pulled the child from the sand, which resulted in the sand attacking the man, drawing blood from his wrist and temple. Lord Gaara, please, calm yourself, the man pleaded. Later the boy Gaara was staring at a picture. In the picture was a woman with shoulder-length sandy blonde hair framing her face. She wore a simple long-sleeved dark brown dress and a yellow scarf wrapped loosely around her neck. Holding a knife in his right hand, Gaara attempted to cut open his left wrist. It was useless. Sand intercepted the blade, protecting him from the potential pain. It's pointless, Gaara said. The sand always gets in the way. Lord Gaara, the man from earlier, asked. He had sandy blonde hair, a fair face and violet eyes, making fairly easy to mistaken as a female. He wore a dark blue kimono-style shirt, dark gray pants, a white sash and black sandals. I know the sand always protects you, but could you please not slice yourself open in front of me? It's kind of something I look down upon as a medical ninja. Yoshimaru, do injuries hurt? Gaara simply asked. Well, it depends on the circumstance, Yoshimaru said, pointing to a few bandages on his head. These were little scratches, so they didn't hurt that much. What's pain? The small boy asked. That's a little more difficult to explain, the older man said, rubbing the back of his neck. But if one thing is true, it isn't very pleasant. Then do you hate me? Yoshimaru was quiet. In here hurts, Gaara said, placing his right hand over his chest as if clutching his heart. It doesn't bleed, but it still hurts. The older man took the knife from Gaara and sliced open his own finger. See this, Gaara, the boy nodded. Physical injuries like this are only temporary. They may appear painful, but that eventually fades away. He then placed his own hand on his chest. The more serious wound is an emotional scar, and there is only one way to fix it. Huh. Love, Yoshimaru said. How do I get it? You've already received it. When? Your mother gave everything she had to you before she died, especially her love. The people around you may see your sand manipulation as being from Shukaku, but I see it as you mother's will. Gaara smiled at the thought that he was loved by his mother, even more so that it was her will that protected him, not the sand demon. Can I have some ointments? Gaara asked his uncle. Of course. You can give them to that boy you heard after dinner, Yoshimaru said as he went to the kitchen. He returned with a bowl of soup. Here you go, Lord Gaara, he said, handing the bowl to the boy. Eat up. The soup was good for the most part, except for when he got to the pieces of pineapple. Those tasted like shit. Because Yoshimaru was watching him eat, Gaara was obliged to swallow the fruit pieces, no matter how bad they tasted. The moment his uncle turned around, Gaara attempted to spit the fruit he had in his mouth out. That was delicious, Yoshimaru, Gaara said while his uncle smiled back at him. Later that night, Gaara was sitting up on the edge of a building, hugging his knees. When he offered the ointments to the boy he had heard, he was told to go away. Then he bumped into a drunk, who he ended up killing. Finally he passed by his father, who looked at him with disappointment. The young boy was sad. Everywhere he went he appeared to be a monster. Why am I such a monster? Gaara cried. What am I exactly? The small boy was unaware of a mysterious figure approaching him from behind. Over back in the Uzashigakure hidden temple, if there was a hell, the three kunoichi would love to go there for some R&R. The first stage of the training was excruciatingly difficult. Shen stood over the three exhausted women. All three of them were soaked to the bone with sweat, water and blood. Looks like you are all ready to open the first chakra, Shen said, grinning. Wait, none of us have even opened the first one yet, Mikoto asked. Yet, Shen said. The first gate, the survival chakra. Survival chakra, Kushina asked. Yes, every living thing awakens this chakra in their lives. Ever heard of the phrase flight or fight? What's that? Natsumi asked. It's a physiological reaction to a stimulus that threatens your survival. When one enters this state, all their senses become hyper-aroused. In order to fully open the chakra, you must return to a meditating position. Don't worry, those 4 areas were just to throw you into a constant state of hyper-arousal. Don't you 3 notice anything different? Shen explained. Now that you mention it, Kushina began, I can see so much clearer now. And do I smell something cooking? Yes, that would be tonight's dinner. Shen replied. Anything else? I can feel every little pebble in the ground, Mikoto said. Heck, I think the temperature just fell a tiny bit. Natsumi helped them out. Wait a minute, Natsumi said, noticing something. I got it. Shen's barely speaking over a whisper, yet we can hear him clearly. Exactly. Shen said happily. Now that you're all in a hyper-aroused state, it's time to open the first gate. The gates can only be opened when certain conditions are met. Shen added, to open the first state you must be in survival mode. Once you open the first gate, you will be able to enter a state of hyper-arousal whenever you want. So what do we have to do? Mikoto asked. Get ready to face your fears, Shen said. Over back in the Uzashigakure hidden temple, if there was a hell, the 3 kunoichi would love to go there for some R&R. The first stage of the training was excruciatingly difficult. Shen stood over the 3 exhausted women. All three of them were soaked to the bone with sweat, water and blood. Looks like you are all ready to open the first chakra, Shen said, grinning. Wait, none of us have even opened the first one, you asked. Yeah, Shen said, the first gate, the survival chakra. Survival chakra, Kushina asked. Yes, every living thing awakens this chakra at least once in their lives. Ever heard of the phrase flight or fight? What's that? Natsumi asked. It's a physiological reaction to a stimulus that threatens your survival. When one enters this state, all their senses become hyper-aroused. In order to fully open the chakra, you must return to a meditating position. Don't worry, those 4 areas were just to throw you into a constant state of hyper-arousal. Don't you 3 notice anything different? Shen explained. Now that you mention it, Kushina began, I can see so much clearer now. And do I smell something cooking? Yes, that would be tonight's dinner. Shen replied, anything else? I can feel every little pebble in the ground. Mikoto said, heck, I think the temperature just fell a tiny bit. Natsumi helped them out. Wait a minute, Natsumi said, noticing something. I got it. Shen's barely speaking over a whisper, yet we can hear him clearly. Exactly. Shen said happily, now that you're all in a hyper-aroused state, it's time to open the first gate. The gates can only be opened when certain conditions are met. Shen added, to open the gate, you must be in survival mode. Once you open the first gate, you will be able to enter a state of hyper-arousal whenever you want. So what do we have to do? Mikoto asked. Get ready to face your fears, Shen said. On the other side of the world, the Straw Hat Pirates found themselves docking at a new island. Everyone had decided to go off and do their own things. Nami wanted to go shopping in town. Luffy went with her for fairly obvious reasons. Zoro decided to take a nap on the ship. Usopp and Frankie wanted to get some supplies, while Sanji decided to restock on food since someone decided to eat a bunch of it as a midnight snack. Chopper, Brook and Kurama also went into town. Chopper wanted to check out the local bookstore and Kurama decided to tag along with him. Brook wanted to go as well to check out some new instruments and music styles. Naruto decided to spend the day with Robin. Initially they had started out with Chopper, Kurama and Brook, but when Robin learned that there were some ruins on the island, she just couldn't contain her excitement. Actually she could, and rather well, if you know Robin. How much further, Robin-san? Naruto asked as they hiked up a hill. While they walked, Robin recommended Naruto practice the Rasengan from step 1 all over again, this time with the goal of doing it one-handed. He started 2 weeks ago and was still on step 1. Naruto was wearing a simple orange t-shirt and black shorts along with blue sandals. He had started to carry Harosame everywhere he went. Slung on his back, and wear a black cloth around his left bicep because it looked cool. Robin turned around to the blonde child. Today she decided to braid her long black hair and let it hang gracefully over her left shoulder. She put her sunglasses on her forehead. Today she wore a simple white blouse and black capris and her high heels. Not much farther, Naruto-kun, Robin said. According to the bookstore clerk, the ruins should be just over this hill. She pointed just ahead of them. Sure enough, when they came over the crest of the hill, there was a small ruined stone building. 8 columns flanked a small path to the ruins opening, most of which had fallen over. Like I said, just over the hill. Now let's go inside. Robin walked over to the ruins entrance and disappeared into the dark. Wait for me, Robin-san, Naruto called as he followed her into the dark. They walked for what felt like hours in the dark until they entered a large open chamber. The ceiling of the chamber had collapsed long ago, exposing the entire room to the sun. Many plants had also overgrown in the chamber. The only thing in the chamber that could prove to be useful was a clay vase covered in ancient text. Robin walked over to the vase and picked it up. She began to read the text, though most of it was faded. Naruto, can you hold this for a minute? Sure, he answered as she handed the vase to Naruto. She then walked over to the walls and ran her hand over some text. She pulled. Strange, Naruto thought as he looked over the vase. The inside of the vase looks smaller than the outside. Why is that? He began to rotate and look over the clay object. Right now I wish I could read this text, but then again it doesn't look like Robin-san could either. Since Naruto was so focused on the vase, he didn't see the root at his feet. With a yelp, Naruto tripped forward and dropped the vase. Crash! It shattered into many pieces when it hit the ground. Naruto stood completely still, his jaw gaping like a fish. Oh no, he thought, Robin-san told me to be careful with this vase. It was important to the location of this island's poneglyph. Out of the corner of his eye he noticed Robin turning around. Her eyes widened slightly when she saw him in the broken vase. She walked over to him and reached out to him, and Naruto's eyes widened in shock and slight fear. Instead, Robin knelt down next to him and placed a hand on his shoulder, and took his right wrist in her other. "Are you okay, Naruto?" she asked, looking at his bleeding wrist. Naruto looked at his wrist and noticed a piece of the vase was stuck in his wrist, making it bleeding out. "Let's get you treated right away," she said motherly. Truth was now that Kurama decided to spend most if not all his time. Naruto lost his almost immediate healing. He now healed at the same rate as a normal person. I'm sorry, Naruto said as Robin pulled the jagged clay out and began to clean the wound. "For what?" she asked. "I broke the vase," Naruto answered on the verge of tears. Robin just looked at him silently, their blue eyes meeting. "You said it yourself, the vase was a precious treasure whose importance cannot be measured. It was supposed to tell you the location of the poneglyph." "Naruto," she said as she finished wrapping his wound. "I did say that, didn't I?" She said it's true that humans cannot return to the past and objects like the vase are our ticket to see, but it was an accident, she told him, smiling. "Everything with a form will eventually break, even relics of the past." "Sniff, really?" Naruto asked, wiping away. "Yes, besides," she said, moving the pieces around on the ground, revealing a brown cloth. "If you hadn't broken it, we wouldn't have found this," she said, holding it up. "What is it?" "Exactly what we're looking for," Robin said as she and Naruto walked outside. When they stepped into the light, Robin held the cloth to the sun. Almost immediately a set of letters and numbers appeared on the cloth. "Coordinates to this island's poneglyph." Wow, Naruto was glad his mistake turned out to be a good thing. "All right, let's go," Robin told the blonde. "According to this and the map we got in town, the poneglyph should be," she pointed west down an open hallway about 300 meters west. Sure enough, after walking down the hall, Robin and Naruto came out in another chamber. In the center was a large blue block covered in ancient text. "What did I tell you?" Robin asked rhetorically as she walked up to it and placed her hand on it. "So what's it say?" Robin silently read the stone over. Her eyes widened slightly before returning to her usual composure. "This poneglyph, it only speaks of the location of a poneglyph." "Where?" he asked curiously. "On an island far away from here." "It doesn't give the island's name." "Must have been," Robin replied, "and based on the log pose path we take, we'll be there in either a month or so." "How do you know which island it is if there's no name?" "Simple." Dozens of eyes bloomed around them. "I can look over each island fairly quickly." "You're so cool, Mom," Naruto said without thinking. Robin smiled at what he said. "Come along, Naruto, we should head back to this ship. Chopper should look at that cut to make sure you didn't contract any ancient diseases. Otherwise you'll die." "You're joking, right, Robin-san?" "Robin-san? Please tell me you're joking," he called after her as she led the way out of the ruins. "Naruto cannot find out what was on that stone." Robin thought to herself, it is fairly obvious, based on the architecture and the plant life, that this small island was once a part of Naruto's home continent. She looked back at Naruto, who smiled at her. "This poneglyph gives the location of the next one as well as addressing the origin one of their local god figures. It mentioned a great unstoppable beast being swallowed by a boy, only to take him over. According to this inscription, refers to an ancient weapon like the Pluton, Poseidon and Uranus, one that can rival their power, Gia. Based on Naruto's told me about the Sage of Six Paths and the Juubi, this one, the next poneglyph, reveals the location and the key to reactivating of Gia, also known as Shinju." Returning to the Uzugakure temple, we find the three women getting set up for the second half of the first stage of their training. "Now return to your meditation states." The three females complied. "Relax and let your minds go blank," Shen said. "Now what do you all fear the most?" One by one each of their consciousnesses went blank. Natsumi opened her eyes and found herself in a pitch-black space. "Where am I?" she wondered out loud. "How small," a voice said. Immediately she turned around and found herself face to face with her brother, Naruto. He looked different than she last remembered. Naked body was covered with horrendous scars, his nails were sharpened into claws, his hair was a disheveled mess, and the most striking feature was his red irises, resembling a fox's. "Naruto-ni-chan," Natsumi cried happily as she ran towards her brother. The more she ran, the further away he seemed to become. "Ni-chan, please stop running away. Let's return home together." In the blink, and with little effort, he hoisted her into the air by the throat, fully intent on crushing it. "Naruto-ni. Naruto's not here right now," Naruto said sarcastically, "but if you leave your name and number, I'll be sure to let him know you want to speak with him, my former host." Natsumi's eyes widened as she realized who was before her. The Nine Tails, and it had completely possessed her brother. Tears welled up. She begged him to release her and Naruto, but the fox ignored her and flashed a sinister grin as his grip tightened and her vision blacked out. The first thing Mikoto saw was blackness completely surrounding her. It was times like this that she wished she had awoken the Sharingan like Itachi and Fugaku had. "Hello Mikado-san," a voice said. The raven-haired woman turned around and found herself facing Konoha's warhawk himself, Danzo. Instead of leaning on his cane in his left hand was the severed head of her husband. Blood trailed from the torn neck. The head's eyes had been torn out, leaving nothing but empty sockets. Mikoto was stunned to silence. The old man tossed the head aside and walked slowly towards her. No matter how quickly she backed away, he seemed between them even faster. "Give me your eyes," he said, reaching out to her. That's when Mikoto felt her entire body go rigid and freeze as Danzo's middle, index and thumb found themselves around her left eye. "Ah!" The raven-haired woman could only scream as the fingers pushed into her socket, grabbing a hold of her eye. Splurred in one swift motion, Danzo plucked Mikoto's eye out, taking the optic nerve with it. "Now the other one," Danzo said as he reached for her remaining eye. Meanwhile, in Kushina's mind, the older redhead awoke to find herself in a pitch-black world. "It's been a while, Uzumaki Kushina," a voice behind her said. Immediately she turned around and found herself face to mask with Madara Uchiha. Her eyes widened with fear and rage. Instinctively she charged and with all her strength punched him right in the face. Madara staggered back from the blow, his mask cracking and crumbling. As it completely fell off, he reached up and covered his face with his hand. "Kachan, that hurts," he said sorrowfully, his voice changing to that of a small child. "Why did you hit me? I thought..." Kushina immediately went rigid as she recognized the voice. There before here was Madara, but his face was that of Naruto. "And Naruto-kan?" Kushina asked wearily. "Yes, Kachan, it is me," he said, spread his arms out wide, inviting her for a hug. Against her better judgment, Kushina rushed towards him and embraced him, her motherly instincts taking hold. "Kachan, I have something important to tell you," Naruto said. "You can tell me anything." Sochi-kun shunk. A piercing pain entered her stomach. She looked down to see Naruto's hand impaling her. "Goodbye, Kachan." When she came back into focus, Natsumi began to shake uncontrollably, hugging her knees as she did. "What do you fear?" the voice of Shen said, piercing through the darkness. "I'm terrified of my brother," she said. "Why?" the voice asked, sounding like a blend of Shen and a demon and somehow a woman. Because I don't want him to be stronger than me," she replied. "I've always been the stronger of the two of us, but now that I no longer have the Kyuubi's chakra, I'm frightened of how much he can grow and catch up, if not surpass me." Arrogance, overconfidence and a lust for power. Natsumi turned to see Kyuubi Naruto walking towards her. "Those are your flaws. How can you say something like that?" she demanded. "You just proved our point," Kyuubi Naruto responded. "When life proves you wrong, you fight it tooth and nail until it goes your way. You refuse to accept you did anything wrong over the last 4 years, no matter what you are told." Natsumi clenched her fist in rage. This figment of her imagination was telling her she was what she wasn't. "You are a fighter like your mother." He reached into his chest and pulled out a glowing red orb with dancing golden flames. "However, what you truly lack in humility." He shoved it into Natsumi's chest. "Let this be a lesson to you. Life takes no orders, not even from you." Kyuubi Naruto said as he retracted his hand and vanished into the darkness. Mikoto could no longer see anything. After a moment her vision came back into focus, but the only thing she could see was her own body, as if she were someone else, hugging itself on the ground. And when empty eye sockets. Suddenly the figures of Itachi and Sasuke appeared in front of her body. They stared at each other before engaging in combat, both with the intent to kill. The battle was evenly matched until Itachi brutally tore Sasuke's eyes from their sockets, and placed them again his own. When Itachi looked back up, his eyes were different. The iris had become black with 3 red ellipses. In the center was a straight 3-pointed pinwheel, inversed in the other eye. With a single glance at Sasuke burst into black flames, the raven-haired woman's body soon following suit. Mikoto's body screamed out in pain as it was consumed by the black flames. Until she saw, heard and remembered no more. Her vision went black before the fight continued. When it returned, she was once more in her own body. "What do you fear?" the voice of Shen said, piercing through the darkness. I fear Danzo, the curse of my clan. I fear that my sons, my baby boys, might one day try and kill each other for power. And hatred. Why?" The voice, a blend of Shen, Danzo, Itachi, and Sasuke. "That's how it's always been for the Uchiha, and I want it to change," Mikoto said, sobbing. "It doesn't help that everyone in the village assumes we were behind the Kyuubi attack. I know what Danzo plans to do, but I'm too terrified to do anything about it." The inability to act. Mikoto turned around to find herself looking at Danzo, Sasuke and Itachi. They all spoke as one. You take what life gives you in stride but do not strive for more. Mikoto opened her mouth to argue but closed it again, realizing it was true. While you were one of the people who was good to Naruto, you still did nothing for him. As the saying goes, procrastination is just like masturbation, they said. Mikoto kind of blushed at their choice of words because in the end you only screw yourself. Or in this case you lose someone. The three men walked up to her as one unit. When they reached her, they reached out and touched her eyes. Take this as it is yours. Kushina looked down at the arm piercing through her stomach before coughing up blood. Goodbye, Kachan. Naruto attempted to pull his hand out of Kushina's stomach, but the redhead grabbed his wrist with a vice grip. Damn bitch, he growled, release me. No, Kushina said. She then embraced him. You're only a manifestation of my fears, my fear of the masked man and of Naruto's hate. Naruto was silent, then smirked, revealing many sharp teeth and noticeable fangs. That's not all. I am Wuash. It vanished in a swirl of black smoke and reappeared outside of Kushina's arms. I am so much more. He reached up and moved his bangs to a single side, revealing a tiny mark in the middle of his forehead. It began to shake before opening, revealing a large third eye with noticeable veins and a slit pupil. Let's see how well you can handle me, he said as he began to grow until he stood at 232 centimeters, 7.6 feet. His right eye turned red and gained 3 tomoe circling the pupil. His whisker marks became thicker and his nails became like claws. His short blonde hair grew at a rapid rate so that it touched his upper back. 2 black horns poked out of his head as his hair turned black and split into 9 groups. He held his hands out wide to either side. Kyukyuka. Schwack. Kushina blitzed Marutoujin and sliced him with a vertical slash. Unfortunately, her sword passed cleanly through him as if he were intangible. Kushina was silent. This thing before her was a blend of all her fears, Madara, Naruto's hate, and Starjin. She composed herself and flashed through hand signs and fired a torrent of water at Marutoujin. Flume. Marutoujin swiped his left hand and created a massive wave of yellow fire. The flames were so intense they evaporated Kushina's attack in an instant. Come now, Kushina-chan, you'll need to try a lot harder than that. He used a fire jutsu with only his hand that by itself should have been impossible, but then again, water should have beaten fire. Correct. Kushina was stunned. He had just completed her thought as if he had read her mind. That would have been true except Flume. His left hand was engulfed in yellow flames. My flames are no cooler than 1538 degrees Celsius. That's 15 times the boiling point of water. Quite an interesting ability your friend Starjin has. I am not afraid of you, Kushina challenged. You should be. Marutoujin said. Flume. His entire body became engulfed in flames so hot Kushina felt like her skin was either blistering or going to burn away into nothing. Boom! The fiery aura exploded to colossal proportions, throwing Kushina to the ground. Behind her fear incarnate was a massive black fox. The fox had 9 tails, each made of the intense flames. Its a third eye protruded from the center of its forehead, displaying a Sharingan. 2 large black horns emerged from its head as it roared. Now that you're in my power, what shall you do? It asked. Kushina clenched her fist and cocked back for a punch. Ha ha, Yura. She took 1 step forward and froze. Pure terror filled her body to the point of paralysis. She fell to her knees gasping for breath. I can't. You can't what? It asked, its voice sounding less demonic. When she said. Well said, Marutoujin smiled. You pass. For one to never give up and always challenge the world, accepting that you have limits is the first step in becoming stronger. He reached a glowing red orb. Golden flames danced around the object and Kushina felt it radiating power. What you truly fear are your limits. He extended the orb to Kushina. Strength alone cannot overcome all obstacles. Kushina lowered her head in defeat. Now it's time for you to wake up. Almost completely in sync, the 3 women opened their eyes to see Shen staring back at them, smiling. Up inside the main tower of the temple, Yoshi looked out at Kushina, Mikoto and Natsumi. Well done in conquering the first stage, he said to himself. Let's see how fast they can get through the remaining stages. He sat down surrounded by candles. Each flame grew and diminished with each breath. The light from the fire cast his shadow upon the wall, however it didn't look like him. Appeared as a large humanoid with broad furry shoulders, a large amount of hair on its head and 3 horns protruding from its crown. I sense there may not be enough time for them. Kushina clenched her fist and cocked back for a punch. Ha ha, Yura. She took 1 step forward and froze. Pure terror filled her body to the point of paralysis. She fell to her knees gasping for breath. I can't. You can't what? It asked, its voice sounding less demonic. When she said. Well said, Marutoujin smiled. You pass. For one to never give up and always challenge the world, accepting that you have limits is the first step in becoming stronger. He reached into his chest and pulled out a glowing red orb. Golden flames danced around the object and Kushina felt it radiating power. What you truly fear are your limits. He extended the orb to Kushina. Strength alone cannot overcome all obstacles. Kushina lowered her head in defeat. Now it's time for you to wake up. Almost completely in sync, the three women opened their eyes to see Shen staring back at them smiling. Up inside the main tower of the temple, Yoshi looked out at Naruto and Natsumi. Well done in conquering the first stage. He said to himself, let's see how fast they can get through the remaining stages. He sat down surrounded by candles. Each flame grew and diminished with each breath. The light cast his shadow upon the wall, however it didn't look like him. Instead it appeared as a large humanoid with broad furry shoulders, a large amount of hair on its head and 3 horns protruding from its crown. I sense there may not be enough time for them. For the survival chakra, Shen moved them onto the pleasure chakra, not that kind of pleasure, you sick twisted perverts. Following the same routine they entered deep meditation where they were met with what they felt guilty of. For it revolved around Naruto, and what they used to not do for him. Done, especially past cannot be changed. From the courage chakra, the and the final chakra, the spirit chakra. Out of their meditation. The first chakras took them almost 3 hours to unlock, while the perception chakra took them 10 minutes. All right, bring on the final chakra, Natsumi shouted. I'm afraid I cannot do that, the monk replied. Why not? Kushina asked. Cause Master Yoshi is going to teach you this one personally. The old Uzumaki came out of the temple and walked over to them. So you 3 have completed the first 6 chakras. Yes, sensei, they said, bowing. Good. The final stage can only be taught one at a time and it is extremely dangerous. How dangerous? Kushina asked. Over 100 have attempted it and none did, Yoshi said seriously. The last person to accomplish it was your sister Hidario. It took her a week, but she did it. Wait, Shen hasn't unlocked it. No, I haven't, the monk replied. We are given a choice and considering the success rate is very low, roughly 2%, and that's being generous. As dangerous that it appears, Yoshi exhaled more smoke. I would like Kushina to partake in the final challenge first, if you accept, of course. Kushina thought for a moment. Images of her family, friends and enemies flashed through her head. I'll do it, she said. Excellent, Yoshi said, putting his pipe in his pocket. But before we go, Shen, might I have a word with you? Of course, sensei, Shen replied, bowing before following his father around a corner. You need to keep your ears open, Shen. Why? I sense darkness in the temple. The old man closed his eyes. Worse still, Alethea told me that an even greater force is heading this way. Keep both eyes and ears open, Shen. Of course, sensei, replied, bowing. Yoshi strolled over of the Uzumaki. Shen said, as you know by now, the Uzumaki have built shrines and temples all throughout the land of whirlpools and the land of fire. However, there is one sacred place that everyone is forbidden to go. Puof, Kushina and Yoshi reappeared on a small island in the middle of an enormous bay. Where are we? Kushina asked. The old sacred and oldest island in the entirety of Yuzu no Kuni. Yoshi exhaled a large puff of smoke before turning to a large foreboding cave entrance. Welcome to the Yomi Cavern. Wait, the Yomi Cavern? As in the actual entrance to hell? Kushina was confused. Here she and her father's old friend were, standing at the legendary entrance to the underworld, or so it is said. Funny, isn't it? What? Yuzashiyagakure was built around this island, making this the exact center, give or take 50 feet. So why are we? There is, Yoshi exhaled more smoke in the cave. You will experience death. However, that is how the final chakra is opened. The final chakra to open is the spirit chakra. To completely release it, you must pass through the cave. It is that simple. No problem. Kushina was fairly sure she could do something so easy. Think about it, Yoshi said seriously. Your sister made it through 7 days and 7 nights. No food, no water. Only the darkness, so thick it is impossible to tell which way is up, down, left, right, forward or backwards, accompanied her. Cushion through the cave. Your senses will be taken from you, one by one. First will be your sight, followed by your hearing, soon after your smell and touch, until all you have is nothing but the darkness. I went into this cave, only 3 have come out. Isn't that the same as death? Exactly, the old man replied. Nothing is the most fearsome thing in this world. It's a cold embrace just like death. Exhaled more smoke in spite of all of this. Entering the cave? It's your last chance to back out. Walk towards the darkness. Before you go, there is I must tell you concerning the final product of your training. What is it, sensei? When you return, you will have obtained an extreme awareness. Yoshi exhaled, awareness so keen that you'll be able to ascertain shifts in the atmosphere, in the movement of the earth, and above all you'll be able to sense individuals. What do you mean sensing individuals? I have heard of people born with exceptionally strong awareness abilities, so strong that they can pinpoint the location of certain individuals or even feel the slightest changes in the planet. In your case, you may be like me and be able to feel when powerful people are born or die. So I'll be able to tell when a powerful individual dies or is born. Yes, several examples I can give are as early as about 2 years ago 2 extraordinarily powerful voices were silenced. Really? Yes, I even felt the awakening of a voice almost 20 years ago. Yoshi breathed out more smoke. The more powerful a person is to become, the stronger their voice. So the only people who could do this are you, Hidario-an. Your uncle Nagi. Yes, you heard me correct, your uncle, not your father. I'm still going to do this, the redhead said. Well then, when this is all over, I expect to see your son here in the future. Kushina paused. I cannot force him to do this. He is no longer my son, no matter how much I, or Minato, try to delusion ourselves. We lost the right to call him our son a long time ago. If I ever see him again and he accepts me as at least a friend, or a mother at best, add those to it, completely being his choice, and with that the red-haired Kunoichi vanished into the dark. You have grown up into a fine woman. Kushina. Yoshi turned around and sat down. Should anything happen to you in there, I will pull you out. After all, I cannot allow Saki-sama, last living child, to die. Over in Konoha, Danzo sat in the Hokage's chair. Minato had been missing for the last 2 days, so Danzo was named temporary Hokage, and the old Warhawk was extremely glad with himself. First thing that must be done is locate the Kyuubi. Danzo said to himself as he pulled out an executive order. No matter what, we must locate and repossess the Kyuubi, even if that means the death of Minato's son. Whip 6 Root Anbu Shinobi appeared before him. Your mission is to locate the Kyuubi and its last known Jinchuriki Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto and bring him back to me. Yes, sir. Whip. All 6 of them vanished from sight. Weasel, Danzo called as another Anbu appeared before him, kneeling. What have you to report? The Uchiha elders still plot a coup d'etat. They strongly believe that they're in the right, the Anbu said. No matter what Fugaku tells them, they refuse to listen. The Uchiha head wants peace, but the remainder of the clan plans to strike soon since Minato-sama is still missing. In that case, Danzo began to say, for the good of the village they all need to die. Sir. This is an executive order, Weasel. Danzo said, you will eliminate the Uchiha clan or I shall have my personal guard do it. Weasel hesitated but complied. Then may I make one request? What? Since the Uchiha clan will be no more as the next clan head, I place my brother and mother under the protection of the 4th Hokage and his family. You bastard. Danzo growled. Weasel managed to save his brother and mother from the Warhawk. You think words are all it takes to stop me? No, but the 4th's return will. Whip. And with that, Weasel vanished to carry out his mission that night. By the time night had fallen, we find ourselves following young Sasuke as he returned to his clan's compound from training. Dang, training ran late today. This is getting to be a bad habit, Sasuke thought as he ran throughout the streets. He suddenly stopped, thinking someone was watching him. He turned to a large pole and for a brief moment thought he saw someone crouching on it. That was weird. What is this? His thoughts were cut off when he looked in front of him. Dead bodies of his clan lay sprawled all over the place, their blood draining into gutters and the stench of death ripe in the air. From their positions it was apparent they had all been taken by surprise. Sasuke resisted the urge to expel his empty stomach onto the ground. What the heck's going on? As fast as he could he raced for his home father. Oni-chan, he yelled. Sasuke, don't come in here, his brother yelled. Hesitantly Sasuke reached for the door. Boom! A giant navy blue skeleton arm punched through the door and slammed into a far wall, barely missing Sasuke, who was frozen in fear. The arm retracted, revealing Itachi in his Anbu uniform embedded in the wall, apparently dead. Oh, Oni-chan, Sasuke asked. Whoosh! Itachi's body vanished in a murder of crows. It's okay, Sasuke. The small boy turned around to see his father walk out of their house. Despite wearing his causal robe, Fugaku was surrounded by a navy blue rib cage, with a bony arm growing out of the right-hand side. His eyes, however, were very different than the traditional Sharingan. While the iris of the eye was red like a normal Sharingan, the symbol was far different, being three completely black intersecting ellipses, resembling a flower, and at the center was a red pupil. Tao-san, Sasuke asked, what's going on? We're just having a little disagreement. Sasuke, the Uchiha, head crouched down to his son's level. Whom they locked eyes and Sasuke fell unconscious almost instantly. Do me a favor and go to sleep, he said in a fatherly tone. Now where were we, Itachi? He asked his eldest son, who reappeared behind him. Why? He asked. Why'd you do it? Because you lacked the courage to do it, Fugaku said, and I know I might not have been the best father, but if this means I can save my sons from the shame our clan would have brought onto all of us. You knew. Our family was the only one that opposed the coup, Fugaku said. With this, our honor still remains intact and Sasuke still has someone he looks up to. Me, Itachi said, knowing full well who his father spoke of. But I made a deal with Danzo. I would slay our clan except for Sasuke and place him and mother under Minato-sama's protection. Well, in this way the clan still has a leader and you won't be hunted. So what now? We make it look good. Fugaku said as his navy blue ribcage wrapped around his body and began to expand into a large skeleton wielding a sword in one hand and a chain in the other. Itachi, unless you've obtained the same eyes you cannot beat me, the Uchiha head said. Kaboom! An enormous explosion roared throughout the village as the two clashed. An hour later Danzo and his agents arrived on the scene, and were met with a sight that Danzo really didn't like. There were no corpses anywhere, only bloodstains and scorch marks, indicating that the bodies had been incinerated, removing all chances of obtaining the Sharingan from any of them. Where's Itachi? Danzo wondered aloud. This was not a part of our deal. He and his team strolled through the compound until they found both Itachi and Sasuke unconscious. The older Uchiha had his arms wrapped protectively around his younger brother, as if they had both been attacked. Damn it. Danzo growled. Looks like someone beat Itachi to it. He strode over to the two bodies. Fugaku was responsible, wasn't he? He asked himself. I never expected him to be stronger than Itachi. Oh well. Kawaii crow's caw caught Danzo's attention, and when he looked towards it, the bird flew towards him. It stopped before him and began to scatter its feathers, blocking his already limited vision. What is this? Danzo questioned, then he noticed the crow's left eye, and his single eye widened in surprise. Well, looks like luck is still on my side. He reached up to the bandages over his right eye. I might not be able to get the Sharingan number I wanted, but Shisu's eye is a better prize. Removing the bandages, Danzo revealed a Sharingan that once belonged to Shisu Uchiha. It had a red iris and a black design resembling a shuriken. Whom Danzo suddenly felt someone tackle him. That someone just so happened to be Itachi Uchiha, reforming his body out of the scattered crow feathers. Like a bullet his left hand shot for Danzo's right eye. The old warhawk wondered why his men weren't helping him when he realized they all must be under a genjutsu. Damn! Itachi wrapped his fingers around the outside of Danzo's eye socket. Splock! In one swift movement Itachi ripped Danzo's eye from its socket. Grah! The old man roared in pain as his hands instinctively went to cover the empty socket. Itachi had just played him like a child. Danzo glared up to Itachi. Itachi stood there calm with the crow sitting on his shoulder. The crow now had both of Shisu's eyes embedded in it. You bastard, Danzo yelled furiously as he stood up to fight the young Uchiha. Root. Immediately the shinobi he brought with him snapped out of their genjutsus and surrounded Danzo protectively. Take care of Itachi while I release the seal on my arm. Danzo said as he removed his right arm from his robe, letting the cloth fall around his waist. His right arm was completely wrapped in bandages and had 3 large golden braces on it. The 6 shinobi engaged Itachi, but the young Uchiha was too powerful for them. They all swung their swords down on him at the same time, only for him to retaliate by blocking with a kunai. The 7 men locked eyes, and in that moment Itachi's Sharingan changed briefly. Slumped, all 6 root agents fell to the ground, knocked clean out cold. You'll have to do better than that. Itachi said. I already am. Danzo said as he removed the final seal and pulled away the bandages, revealing a pale arm with 4 Sharingan embedded in it. One on the reverse of his palm and the remaining 3 along his forearm. This however will be a battle of the eyes. Danzo charged Itachi and attempted to stab him with a kunai. Clang, however his kunai was met by a fiery red ribcage. Whap, a large skeletal arm of equal color appeared out of the right hand side and grabbed Danzo. So you can us the Susanoo, Danzo said despite feeling his ribcage being crushed. Itachi said nothing back to the elder, only his Sharingan blazing. Sharingan that Itachi now had in his eyes was red with a black pinwheel in the center. As a shinobi of Konoha I am sword to protect this village. Itachi said even though you are my superior and under these circumstances my general, I will kill you if it protects my brother. So there is something you value more than this village. The old man snickered. You have no idea. Sploosh. Itachi's Susanoo squeezed its hand tightly, turning Danzo into a fountain of blood then rained down upon the street, walls and Itachi. Well now, Itachi spun around to see Danzo standing there completely unharmed. Had I not used that jutsu I'd be dead right now. What's going on here? Danzo and Itachi stopped and turned to a new voice. Before them stood a tall blonde-haired man. He wore a standard Konohanin uniform with arm bracers on the sleeves. He also wore a leaf green flak jacket. And a long black bandana forehead protector with the symbol of Konoha and black shinobi sandals. Over his uniform he wore a short-sleeved long red coat with black flame motifs on the bottom trim, closed across his chest with an orange robe. The back of his coat was the kanji, Yondaime Hokage. He had bright, blue eyes and spiky, blonde hair. The hair also had jaw-length bangs framing either side of his face. The most striking feature was his eyes. They had yellow irides, horizontal bar-like pupils, and reddish-orange pigmentation around the eyes. Hokage-sama, Itachi said kneeling almost immediately. Minato, Danzo said. Listen carefully cause I only want to be answered once, Minato said having his cool calm and collected expression. What happened while I was away? Weasel attacked me just now, Danzo said. Really, Minato asked, and might I ask why? He massacred his entire clan and torched the bodies. I arrived just in time to save his younger brother from the mess. Schwack sploosh. Minato reappeared in front of Danzo, his signature kunai already completing its deadly swing, only this time it was encased in wind chakra making a long powerful sword. It cut cleanly through Danzo, removing his right arm from his body at the shoulder in a single stroke. The old man's single eye widened in shock before turning to the blonde Hokage. Funny now that I'm using senjutsu my senses are through the roof. What are you babbling about? Danzo demanded. The moment you started talking I could hear your breathing and heart rate pick up slightly. A sound signal you were lying. Frustrated, Danzo reached into his robe and threw a smoke bomb on the ground. Blew off when the smoke cleared. Danzo was still standing there, his body covered in black chain tattoos. Damn, the Warhawk struggled to say I can't move. He forcefully turned his head to see Minato with his left hand in a single-handed hand sign. When did he? When I first marked you. Minato answered him. Remember when I first entered the Hokage office as 4th Hokage? Danzo's eye widened. Look at your left hand. Danzo complied and saw a miniature Hirishin mark on the palm of his hand. Not only that, but it was also the source of the tattoo chains. It's over, Danzo. You won't be doing anything to threaten this village or my family anymore. The blonde Hokage walked up to Danzo and brandished his signature kunai, before wrapping and extending its blade with wind chakra. Slash sploosh. In one clean motion Minato sliced Danzo's head clean off. The head sailed in the air for a bit before hitting the ground and rolling to Itachi's feet. All right, Itachi. Minato said as his eyes turned back to their normal blue color. Grab Sasuke and let's go to my house. I'll get someone to clean this mess up. Thank you, Hokage-sama. Soon after, the Hokage and the 2 Uchiha boys left Danzo's body in the streets. One of the Sharingan in his right arm closed its eye and all Danzo's pieces vanished as if it was never there. Listen carefully cause I only want to be answered once, Minato said having his cool calm and collected expression. What happened while I was away? Weasel attacked me just now, Danzo said. Really, Minato asked, and might I ask why? He massacred his entire clan and torched the bodies. I arrived just in time to save his younger brother from the mess. Schwack sploosh. Minato reappeared in front of Danzo, his signature kunai already completing its deadly swing, only this time it was encased in wind chakra making a long powerful sword. It cut cleanly through Danzo, removing his right arm from his body at the shoulder in a single stroke. The old man's single eye widened in shock before turning to the blonde Hokage. Funny now that I'm using senjutsu my senses are through the roof. What are you babbling about? Danzo demanded. The moment you started talking I could hear your breathing and heart rate pick up slightly. A sound signal you were lying. Frustrated, Danzo reached into his robe and threw a smoke bomb on the ground. Blew off when the smoke cleared. Danzo was still standing there, his body covered in black chain tattoos. Damn, the Warhawk struggled to say I can't move. He forcefully turned his head to see Minato with his left hand in a single-handed hand sign. When did he? When I first marked you. Minato answered him. Remember when I first entered the Hokage office as 4th Hokage? Danzo's eye widened. Look at your left hand. Danzo complied and saw a miniature Hirishin mark on the palm of his hand. Not only that, but it was also the source of the tattoo chains. It's over, Danzo. You won't be doing anything to threaten this village or my family anymore. The blonde Hokage walked up to Danzo and brandished his signature kunai, before wrapping and extending its blade with wind chakra. Sploosh, in one clean motion Minato sliced Danzo's head clean off. The head sailed in the air for a bit before hitting the ground and rolling to Itachi's feet. All right, Itachi. Minato said as his eyes turned back to their normal blue color. Grab Sasuke and let's go to my house. I'll get someone to clean this mess up. Thank you, Hokage-sama. Soon after, the Hokage and the 2 Uchiha boys left Danzo's body in the streets. One of the Sharingan in his right arm closed its eye and all Danzo's pieces vanished as if it was never there. At the Uzumaki Namikaze estate, Itachi gently placed Sasuke in Naruto's old bed and pulled the covers up over his little brother. He gently kissed the little boys for it and then left the room. The new Uchiha had left his little brother and went to meet Minato in the living room. The blonde Hokage was sitting on the couch. His eyes had returned to being blue and the pigmentation around his eyes had vanished. Hokage-sama, Itachi bowed. There is no need to be so formal, Itachi. Minato said. Here, I am not the Hokage. Rather, I am a friend of your family. Just call me Minato. I'm sorry, I mean Minato-san, Itachi said, falling. For what? Following Danzo's orders. I should have held out longer. Maybe then my clan would still be alive. We all could have made peace. Itachi. Minato leaned into the young shinobi. We have no way of knowing just how things would have turned out if you had stalled. For all we know, a revolution could have been a boon for the village, but it could have also shamed your entire clan. I may not like the way things went, but Danzo was acting as Hokage and doing his job as such. What exactly happened tonight? I was ordered to massacre my entire clan, Itachi began, but when I arrived at the compound everyone, even the women and children who were not involved, was dead. By who? Our father. Itachi turned his head to look out the window. Somehow he knew about my orders to destroy the entire clan and he acted on them before I did. Whether from pity or a desire to protect us, I don't know his reasons, but I can say that by carrying out the deed himself he spared Sasuke, Kachan and myself from bearing the shame of this night. So I suppose it was Fugaku who incinerated all the bodies. Yes, Itachi closed his eyes. He told me everything before we fought. Itachi-san. The Uchiha turned to see a small boy running to him. Help! Schwack! A figure appeared out of nowhere and slashed the boy across the chest. The boy fell dead, but was caught by the mysterious man. So this is what it has come to, the man said as he looked into the dead boy's face. The murder of an entire clan for peace. Itachi recognized the voice almost immediately. Father, what is the meaning of this? Itachi, you were going to kill the entire clan. Fugaku said, getting up after laying a slain child on the ground and closing his eyes. Did you even bother to stop and think of the drawbacks? Itachi was silent. I was going to do it to preserve the clan's honor. So preserving the clan's honor involves slaughtering every living soul, even children. Like you're one to talk. Itachi said back. True, but this way your hands won't be soiled in the blood of innocence. You don't need to say anymore. The Uchiha head didn't even look at his son. I know it all. You are my son after all. Itachi suddenly felt his entire body go rigid as if someone had pulled his plug. He tried to move but to no avail. What did you do to me? You might not know this, but when you were younger I got in your head with Tsukuyomi. You could say I implemented a phrase into your brain to shut you down. That sort of thing should be impossible. Itachi shot back. It's an implication of hypnosis. The clan head, you should ask Shisu about it. Oh wait, you killed him and took his eyes, didn't you? Flume! A large red skeleton erupted around Itachi. The young Uchiha glared at his father. You know nothing of what I had to do. The skeleton raised its arm as a burning sword formed in its hand. Flume! Fugaku's skeletal Susanoo formed near instantly around him, forming its own weapon in the shape of a spear. If I recall correctly, you yourself told me that you can alter a person's perception of time with your Tsukuyomi, and Shisu could hypnotize people without them knowing, so why can't I implement phrases into people to control them? It's not the way things should be done. You're right. But even the strongest have to be reminded they are only human. Clang! Itachi's Susanoo sword clashed with Fugaku's Susanoo spear. The two skeletal warriors struggled for dominance as red and navy blue chakra clashed for dominance. Your sword wields the Totsuka no Chiruji. Impressive and fitting. Wuash. Fugaku pushed Itachi back. And just as you wield the sword of Susanoo, I wield the spear of Izanagi. Wait, Itachi's eyes widened. You mean that's... Yes, the navy blue skeleton raised its spear. This is Aim no Nuhako, the heavenly jeweled spear. Flume. The spear suddenly became wreathed in black flames. Let me show you my power. Enten Chikayu Kuro Shakunetsu. Flume. The navy blue entity impaled its spear into the ground, sending a shower of black embers all over the place. Whoosh. Streams of fire raced out from the spear along the ground in all directions, heading to each and every body. Itachi watched in horror as the flames ignited and incinerated the bodies of men, women and children. Father, Itachi roared in rage as he and his skeletal entity charged the Uchiha head. Fugaku looked at his eldest son and closed his eyes. Zhonghuazan Wushunk. Itachi's eyes went wide as they returned to normal. The navy blue spear pierced through his Susanoo and into him. Sploosh. A fountain of blood spewed from his right shoulder as he fell backward to the ground next to Sasuke. The last thing Itachi saw was Fugaku licking some splattered blood off his cheek. Sleep tight, Itachi. Almost immediately Itachi's mind went dark. And when I came to, there was no wound on my shoulder. Itachi removed his shirt to prove his point. Sure enough, there was no wound. And everybody throughout the entire compound had been incinerated. So your father slaughtered the entire clan so you wouldn't have to. Minato pondered over the information. As clan head, he took full responsibility for the path the clan chose and their potential actions, and decided it would be best to wipe the slate clean and leave the future of the clan to his sons and wife. That's my understanding of it, Itachi said. Minato smiled reassuringly. You and Sasuke can stay here as long as you like. Minato said. Besides, according to my understanding, you placed the remainder of the Uchiha clan under the Uzumaki Namikaze for protection from Danzo. I did, but since Danzo's dead. I don't think he is, Minato said, stunning Itachi. He should be dead. You sliced his head off. Yes, but even after I killed him I still sensed him as if he was still alive. He's a slippery old snake. He'll show up again, but without solid evidence of treason there's nothing I can do. Why not just have him executed or assassinated? Like I just said, we aren't barbarians. We have to handle this like civil people. Shall I follow him? Itachi asked. I'll keep at least one eye on him at all times. It's for the best. Minato said, lowering his head slightly. How are you holding yourself up, Minato-san? Pardon. With Kushina-san, Natsumi-san and Menmakun away with mother, how are you holding up? Honestly, I can't say, but being alone is a horrible feeling. Even though I know this is only temporary, it's fairly similar to what Kushina and I forced onto Naruto. Poof! A large puff of smoke erupted in between the blonde Hokage and the young Uchiha right on the table. As the smoke cleared, they were met with a human-sized red-orange toad. Yo! He said, waving at the duo. Kashima, what are you doing here? Minato asked. Just here to drop off a package, he said, placing a webbed hand onto the floor. Poof! In another puff of smoke, Jiraiya stood before the duo. Kashima, why'd you summon Jiraiya-sensei here? Minato asked. For starters, when I left the Kuja village I got instantly lost, so I summoned Fukasaku to tell him of my plight and see how your sage mode was going, only for him to tell me you finished it. And perfectly, if he had to add. How'd you do it? Not now, sensei. What did you talk to the Kuja about? Two major things. The Toad Sage held up two fingers. Firstly, Hancock-san still wants the fight between her daughter and Naruto to still occur, but more to see if we should make an alliance rather than marriage. This can be either good or bad. I don't see how it can be bad, Itachi said. Either we get an alliance or we don't. Considering the fact that the original plan was for the two to fight, where it was either marriage or death for Naruto, this is a step up. This brings me to my second point. Naruto was there. Minato's eyes went wide with shock. Instantly he stood up and grabbed Jiraiya by the collar of his outfit. What? Minato was stunned. Jiraiya had just met with his son. He was there. What's he doing? How is he doing? Why didn't you bring him back here? Calm down, Minato. Jiraiya said. According to Nyan, Naruto had just left shortly before I arrived, so I never got to see him. Minato let go of his sensei and his gaze fell to the floor. What exactly did you two mention about Naruto? I didn't mention much about it, but I learned Naruto is with, according to Nyan, a group of pirates called the Straw Hats. However, I couldn't gather much information about them from the Kuja without raising suspicion, so I searched around for information about them. And they are among the worst criminals to sail the seas and walk the earth. Minato sat back down and rested his head in his hands. According to what people tell me, that group of pirates is responsible for many of the greatest tragedies to befall the outside world's government. such as the first and biggest prison breakout, destruction or the judicial island, defying nobles, taking down several powerful individuals and organizations, and disrupting the balance of the world on a regular basis. So it appears the government wants these criminals dealt with. Minato looked up. In most cases in a fashion similar to our own, though mostly people want to see them publicly executed all over the world. What do we know about them exactly? Itachi asked. From what I've heard they're all demon spawn, Jiraiya answered, the captain and his first mate being referred to as devils incarnate. So the best action to get Naruto back would be to work with the government in capturing and or killing these pirates, Minato questioned. In most circumstances he would be all for this course of action, but because of Naruto he wanted to view it from both sides. If I may, Hokage-sama, Itachi interjected, perhaps we should leave well enough alone for now. Why? The Hokage asked as he turned to the young Uchiha. Well, for starters we know absolutely nothing about these people. What we know is based upon opinions of people who clearly do not like them. What are you suggesting, Itachi? Minato asked. Well, hypothetically speaking, if Naruto's been with them the entire time, that would mean they aren't as evil and heartless as they've been made out to be. Also, does Naruto even know he has the Kyuubi's soul sealed in him? I don't think so. We only told Natsumi that its chakra was sealed in her, so Naruto wouldn't know. It's not like he's made any contact with the fox even if he could, Jiraiya said. Besides, there's no point in the soul since there is no chakra connected to it. Uh-oh. What's uh-oh? The Hokage asked. Remember that incident several months ago? The one that almost killed us all? Yes. Well, what if the chakra from the Kyuubi found its way to Naruto? We know he's alive, which means the beast is still sealed within him, the older Toad Sage said. This means Naruto must have been able to make contact with the fox after regaining its chakra. Minato finished, but it still doesn't explain how the chakra was taken from Natsumi. That we may never know, but going back to what I was saying before. Itachi said if Naruto had or has no clue of the beast sealed within him, and these people took him in, he may hold a great attachment to them, and if he knows about the Kyuubi and told them, they still accepted him. And I seriously doubt they know of the beast's power to weaponize it, the young Uchiha finished. In other words, if we bring him back with the help of the world government, we would only be doing more harm than good to Naruto, Jiraiya asked. Putting it bluntly, you would be taking the people he cares for away from him and putting him with people he probably know don't like him, the blonde Hokage said, understanding the situation. I've already put my son through hell, I cannot bear to do that injustice to him again. So do we tell Kushina about this when she, Mikoto, Natsumi and Memna return? It would be for the best if she didn't know. Minato said if she were to learn this, there is no doubt in my mind she would make a beeline for the Kyuja and this world government for their help in recovering Naruto. Her connection to our son is so much more that mind she'll charge headlong into the fray and only make things worse despite thinking things will be better with her actions. Meanwhile on the Thousand Sunny. 2497, 2498, 2499, Naruto was just about to finish his 2500 morning push-ups when, "Hey Naruto," Chopper called to him. Startled slightly, Naruto's arms gave way and he fell flat on his face. Oof. The young blonde was not amused by the little reindeer's laughter. He looked up with a serious gaze upon the small reindeer. This had better be important. That kind of response would promote the little guy to run and hid, but he was acting strangely. Well, stranger than usual. Notice anything different? The little reindeer asked, smiling happily. Naruto looked over every inch of him but couldn't find anything out of the ordinary. You got a haircut? No. New hat? Nope. Guess again. Okay, I give up. Hey Naruto, Chopper said from behind Naruto. Hey Chopper. Naruto said, turning around and waving to the little reindeer before turning back to Chopper. His eyes went wide before he turned to the Chopper behind him, then to the one in front of him several times. Wait, why are there two of you, Chopper? Both Choppers giggled. He thinks there's two of us. The Chopper on the right giggled. Should we tell him the truth? The Chopper on the left asked. He looks very confused. Fine, the right Chopper sighed. Poof, and he vanished in a puff of smoke. When the smoke cleared, before Naruto stood a teenager, roughly 17 years old with a well-toned body. He wore a red muscle shirt, black pants and combat boots along with a red sash around his waist. He had 3 whisker marks on each cheek, dark red-orange hair with 2 black streaks. His irises were red with beast-like slits for pupils and his canines were more defined and sharper than a normal person's. What's up? The boy asked. Naruto looked at him rather stunned and confused. Who are you? You don't recognize me? Naruto shook his head. It's me. Kurama. Kurama. In the flesh, so to speak. The teen bowed at Naruto before looking at the blonde with a mischievous smile. Isn't this sweet? Now I can blend in even more now. No one would ever think I was an all-powerful nine-tailed demon fox. If you don't want people to know, then you should remove the pointed ears, sharp teeth, whiskers and fix your eyes, Naruto said. What's that? Kurama asked, holding a hand up to his ear. I can't hear you over the sound of how sexy I am. I said you're nothing more than a narcissistic, perverted, egotistical, maniac. Flattery won't get you anywhere. I forgot to mention death. The blonde turned to the little reindeer. Hey Chopper, can you fix his stupidity? I've tried that with Luffy, Zoro and Sanji, but nothing works on stupidity or idiocy. The reindeer replied as they both looked at Kurama, who was kissing his biceps. Meanwhile, just outside the Uzashigakure temple, a mysterious hooded man met with Shimuru. Welcome, my lord. The hooded man said, it's good to see you after so long. It's good to see you as well, Uragiri. Shimuru said, what have you to report? Uzumaki Kushina left a day ago with the old man. Her 2 children still remain in the temple guarded by the assistant masters. And what of the wild card, Uchiha Mikoto? Shimuru stroked his mask, at least where his chin would be. She is still here as well, though she shouldn't be much of a threat. An Uchiha without a Sharingan is like a lamb ripe for slaughter, Uragiri added. Good. We'll attack in 2 days' time. If I may, sir. Uragiri was slightly confused. Why not attack now? We could easily take down everyone in the temple before sunrise. For starters, the reason I am here is strictly for Kushina and her daughter. I also want to pay a special visit to the old man. So what about her son? Her son? The missing Uzumaki Namikaze is here, Shimuru asked. This just keeps getting better and better. This'll be so easy to locate and capture the Kyuubi. 3 former hosts will allow me to find it so much easier. It's her newborn son. The hooded man said he's still only an infant, but he's completed all that could be taught to him. He's an infant. What could have been taught to him? A toned down yet more effective training regime that his mother, sister and the Uchiha went through. Does this make him a threat? Not at all, Uragiri said. No matter what the training is for him, he's still an infant. Same thing applies to Uzumaki Namikaze Natsumi. She may have completed all but the final stage of training, but she's still a child. Shimuru nodded. Either way, you'll send the signal the moment you receive word that either the old man or Kushina return. That is when we'll strike. The objective will be to capture the girl and Kushina. All others are irrelevant. Feel free to kill them all. And guys, this is the end. I hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Peace.